So let's get started. So welcome. That we are here at the Advocate Corner, and we're here to present the back to school routines about the early years. Being that we're starting the school year, it is such an exciting time for us, for our kids. But it also brings a lot of anxiety for some of us, a lot of confusion or overwhelming feelings of what do we do? So tonight is really about how can we set up routines so that our children feel a smooth transition from summer vacation and heading into the school year. So for tonight, we're going to talk about how the Advocate Corner started. We are so excited to be launching this opportunity for parents. And so it's an exciting time. So we'll talk about how it started, who's the founder, that's me, Ori Gately, and why should you even be listening to me? So that will go a little bit over that. And I also want to get to know your needs. What is it that you need and that you're here for? What are some of the areas that you feel, I could use a coach to get me through some of this stuff, these processes that my child is going through. And then we'll focus on some of the beginning of year routines and how we can help our kids transition through those, again, like I said, from that summer to the beginning of the school year. And then at the end, we'll talk about ways that the Advocate Corner does empower you and ways we've empowered our clients in the past. And then we'll have an open Q&A where you can drop some questions in the chat, and I'd be more than happy to assist with any questions and give you some answers. All right, so how did the Advocate Corner start? Well, to begin with, it was through many experiences with parents that I came across and saw the confusion and the overwhelming feeling of what's going on with my child in school. And it was really one of those moments where I realized, wow, there's a real need out there for parents. And I had a client about a year ago call me and was really wondering what's going on with my kid in the classroom. I'm not sure why this behavior is happening in class. And so after some questioning and looking at some strategic questions with the parent and being able to uncover some information, we learned that the teacher's method of disciplining the child in this class didn't work for the child. And in fact, it was creating shame and guilt. And so that's where I coach the parent into how to enter that conversation with the teacher, discussing how their method of discipline doesn't work for their particular child. And so what are the various options that the parent and the teacher can come up with to help discipline the child? And that resulted in that third-party support that the parent received and didn't feel like they had any type of repercussion from speaking to the teacher about it. And so that's why with a third-party support, you have an unbiased perspective that's being given to you, and someone who the only important part of the conversation is the child. And with that, the expert insights that come with this conversation, being that there are so many various lenses that parents sometimes may not look through, that's where the Advocate Corner was able to support parents and their lenses. So where do these lenses develop? Well, that's me, the coach. And I am the coach and the founder of the Advocate Corner. I do have a master's in early childhood and elementary education with a specialization in children's literature. I also have a master's in educational leadership. I've been in education for over 20 years as an elementary teacher and a middle school 6th grade ELA teacher. I've also been a district administrator as a K-12 administrator overseeing the English language arts programs at a district on Long Island. And I've also was a building leader, and I was an assistant principal overseeing all the operations of a building. So now let's get to know you and what your needs are. If you could take a moment to choose one or more of the following options, please place your answer in the chat. And I'm here to really want to learn more about what is it that you're here for? What are your needs, or what are something you might be interested to learn more about? Is it about creating morning and afternoon routines, drop off and pick up support, reading with your child, speaking to your child about their day, and or communicating with your child's school and teacher? So take a moment and see What would you like to learn more about? And I'm asking this also because it'll give me insights into what are some things I can also put out there for you and reach out to you and see what support I can give you, all for free, no charge. Thank you. So I'm going to continue next, and I appreciate your input. If anything comes up in your mind as we go through the presentation, please feel free to drop it in the chat. So let's look at the beginning of this school year. What's going on with routines? As we know as parents, routines are so important for our kids, especially because we want to create those smooth transitions from home to school, school to home, and even more so from summer to school and to the school year. So what are some of those routines that we can set up now so that we're setting our kids up for success, and how can we advocate for them so that they are feeling successful? So to start, the first routine is creating before and after school routines with your child, not for your child or to your child, but literally with your child. Having this opportunity to create a routine with your child gives them the power and it gives them ownership over their routine. I myself created a routine with my kid where she and I sat there and thought about, okay, what do we have to do and get done in order to get out the door? Because sometimes getting out that door can feel like quite the battle. And so giving her that ownership, we were able to come up with brushing her teeth, getting dressed, eating breakfast, combing the hair, putting on her shoes, and literally taking it step by step by step. We actually started doing this routine last week because I said to her, you know what, you have to get on the bus by a certain time and you've never done it before. I have a rising kindergartner. So I thought, okay, well, how are we getting this done so that you are out the door by 7:45 to catch your bus? And so we worked on this routine and we had a goal of getting out the door by 7:45. The interesting thing about this whole routine was that as much as I did it with her, it actually ended up being great for me, for my husband, and even my 2-year-old. My 2-year-old started looking at this routine and trying to get herself out the door by 7:45, even though she didn't have to. So this is a great opportunity that I realized, wow, you know what? My little one really could also use this, the opportunity to build up her own routine. So let's look at after school now. What are some ways that we can support our kids after school? And after school, sometimes we feel like, okay, we have this to go to or that to go to, but really taking some time between school and home to have a chance to decompress, whether it's in the car ride, listening to some music, or it's a quick little chat about, so how did it go today? And we'll talk a little bit about that in routine number 4. But making sure that there is a smooth transition. Giving them a snack. I find that sometimes kids could be very hungry at the end of the day. So giving them a snack and just time to not even ask, how was your day? Unless your kid wants to talk about it. But just really giving them that opportunity and the space to decompress. Think about how we feel after a work day. This is the way our kids feel and may not be able to necessarily articulate it. So setting that up is very important for their smooth transition to home, even before homework starts. So routine number 2 is looking at how do we support drop off and pickup due to work conflicts. Many of us as working parents, our schedules and our kids' school schedules do not always work. So what are some things we could do in order to help get that before care and after care support? Some of us who are lucky are able to live by family and friends that are able to help us with that. And some of us don't live by family and friends. So what are some other opportunities for that? Looking at school programs that either the school offers or other schools in the community might offer, like private schools. Daycares, more so than not, sometimes have before care or after care where kids can actually be bused to the aftercare program. And that could be super helpful for parents who work late. There's also babysitters. There's a lot of college kids right now who are maybe going to school locally and in education programs who are more than happy to help out with your child at home. There's also a lot of local colleges, looking at some local colleges and even high school kids. Sometimes high school kids could be super helpful because they might need some volunteer credits that they're working on. And so being able to be a parent helper could be a great opportunity. While you're getting ready, you have another person who can help out with making sure that your kid's eating their breakfast. And then also looking and reaching out to parent groups. What are other parents doing? One thing that I know some parents did where I previously lived was that some of them had babysitters or nannies that came during the day. And so reaching out to those people who have nannies, maybe before, after their work hours, they might want to pick up a few hours. So looking at that and seeing how can we then get someone to help our morning and afternoon drop-off routines would be a useful tool. Okay, routine number 3, the read, and read some more. Some of the things that we really hear and that we know is research-based is that when children are reading, they are going to do better in school. But let's take it another level. When kids are reading on grade level by 3rd grade, and that is the magic grade right there is 3rd grade, they're going to be able to keep up in the coming grades. Yet we've also seen that when kids are not reading on grade level by 3rd grade, the gap starts to widen as they continue on in the years. And so what could we do to support our child who may or may not be reading on grade level? And it's okay if your kid is not reading on grade level by 3rd grade. There are lots of interventions that can occur now, and this is where us as advocates and as a parent advocate, you would really want to push is how am I getting that support for my child now so that by the time they get to 3rd grade, they're going to be as close to grade level as we can get them to be. But some other suggestions and routines for reading and encouraging reading is reading as a family. Children watch adults read. And so when they're seeing you read, they're going to read. One of my favorite things that we do in my house is we drop everything and read, the old deer that we used to do in our schools. And that's something that we build into our routine, whether it's on a weekend where we have even 20 minutes of reading together. I have little ones at home, so that's probably as much as it's as much as they actually can do. But looking at how can we build that routine with our children, or reading for them, of course, right before bed or even in the morning. The other piece that I used to give parents tips a lot is leave books for them to read in the bathroom. Kids love reading in the bathroom. Why? Because they grow up to be adults who read in the bathroom. You've been to those bathrooms where there's a lot of different magazines there. There's a reason why, and it works for our kids too. Giving them books is very helpful for them. And it's not just books. I've noticed that with my little one, I put cereal boxes in front of her while she's eating her cereal, and I'll tell her to be a word detective. And I'll say to her, you know what, can you find words that you might recognize? And granted, she's not a reader yet, but she does have some sight words. And so she's able to pick out some sight words, and we're reinforcing that concept of sight words. I also do make sure I point out some of those family words like ing and think, the ink words, the ing words, the onk words. Point those out to them. And then last but not least, which is one of my favorite client moments, is a client coming to me and telling me that her kid is just struggling to read at school and struggling to read at home. They don't want to pick a book out. And of course, after some strategic questions, saying to them, well, what is your child interested in? And she was able to share with me all these animals that she loves and loves to visit. And I thought, well, how many books is she reading about animals that's teaching her about animals, the nonfiction books, like level 1 and level 2 readers? And my client, paused for a second, realized, she's not. And I thought, well, what happens if you do get her those books? Let's try. And sure enough, a week later, my client runs back to me saying, I can't believe how engaged my child is with the reading because she is reading something she's interested in. So it's so important that we find out what are our kids' interests. In schools, a lot of times they might get fiction books, which is great, and it's great for relaxation. But we do know, based on research, that young children love nonfiction texts. And so the more we could get that into their hands, the better. And as a side note, nonfiction reading, a lot more challenging than fiction reading. So it really gives them that leg up on how to read nonfiction texts better. So let's move on to routine number 4, speaking with your child about their day. This is the famous situation where parents say, so how was your day? Good. What did you learn? Nothing, right? We've heard it before. We've either had it happen to us or had our friends tell us about it. And one of the things that I think we really need to keep in mind is thinking about, when does our child want to speak to us about their day? As adults, sometimes we come home, we don't want to talk to anybody about our day because we need some time to decompress, which kind of connects to routine number 1 with after school routine. So how are we then empowering our children and empowering ourselves to say, you know what? We don't need to talk about it right now. When do you think would be a good time to discuss it? Let them pick out when's a good time they want to talk about it. It could be on the car ride home. Maybe it's the car ride the next day going to school. Or maybe it's while they're laying down in bed after story time, or while they're in a bath. My little ones take a bath, so that might be, something I might ask. But I also like to wait for my child to say to me, when would you like to talk about it? And then I'll ask her, not how was your day or what did you learn, but I'll ask her, so what's your favorite part of today? Any new thing you learned today that you'd like to teach me? So giving her that opportunity to feel empowered herself, because the more I feel empowered as a parent and questions to ask, the more I'm empowering my child. And lastly, communicating is your greatest advocacy tool. Why? Because no one else is going to do that for you. You are the only one who can advocate for your child. And therefore, your communication with your child's teacher and their school is going to be your most powerful tool. So you want to keep those lines of communication open. You do want to be able to reach out to your child's teacher, and it's okay to reach out to them within the first week of school. It's okay to say, hey, just wanted to let you know I'm so-and-so's parent, and I just want to share with you some information about my kid. Sometimes parents have topics that are no-nos, for their kid. And they'd rather say, you know what, if this comes up in class, I'd rather you just let me know because I'd want to talk to my kid about it at home. I'd rather them not discuss it in school. Or if my kid tells you something that you're like, I'm not sure about, or it's a topic that I'd rather discuss with them, let your teacher know what you're okay with and what you're not. And it's okay because then it gives the teacher the opportunity to also listen into what your kid's saying and what they're talking about. And it gives them insights into, you know what, this parent wants to know what's happening with the kid and wants to know what information they're sharing, so that then I could give back to the parent and the parent knows what to do with it. You have that control of what to and how to help your kid through various topics. Additionally, it is so important, and I can't stress this enough, and I saw this as a classroom teacher myself, share changes in your child's daily routine, especially when you have little ones. Little ones can't always communicate what's happening at home or what changes that may have occurred in their routine. And so being mindful of sharing that information, even a quick email to the director of the school if it's a preschool, or to the classroom teacher if it's a public school education setting, just letting them know that there may be a change. And it could be the slightest change that is going on, but it could impact their learning that day. And so making sure you're communicating any changes that are occurring in the child's life, it's really helpful. Now, if the change is that someone was supposed to come over for a play date and they didn't, that's not necessary to communicate. But a change could be, listen, my kid just got a brand new bed and it's going to be kind of new for them the next few days. Their sleep might be a little off. I'm not sure. I just want to give you the heads up because that's a change in their life. And then maybe you did have a rough night with your child because they weren't used to that new environment. Just giving the teacher a heads up, hey, my kid didn't really have a great day, so I want to make sure that you're aware that they might be a little tired today. Those are all very important parts to think about when you are talking to your kids' teachers. And of course, ways the Advocate Corner can empower you. One way is know how to address specific matters with your child's teacher. We can support you in how to address matters with your child's teacher and how you can approach them, just like I'd mentioned with one of my clients and the way the child was being disciplined in the classroom. Another way is uncovering behaviors due to reasons your child's unable to explain and maybe be overlooked at school. So there could be behaviors that are occurring in the classroom that the teacher might not be seeing, but your kid's coming home and talking about it, or they might be reacting to it at home. So being able to help you as an advocate is to help uncover what might be going on in the classroom. And after 18 years of being a classroom teacher, I've almost seen it all. So that's one way I can help. Then it's understanding the special education processes and parent representation. One of the things that parents sometimes hear information from their child's teacher and they don't know what to do with it. Where do I go? Who do I talk to about it? Well, this is where the Advocate Corner can come and empower you and help you so that you feel empowered in the next meeting you have with the school and feel like, you know what? I know what direction I want to go. I know what questions I want to ask. And now I feel like I have a clear vision for the conversation I want to enter with my child's school. And then another way is getting support in drafting communication or filling out forms for your child's school. We have such thing called education jargon. And so sometimes getting that support with drafting communication to the child's school using education jargon that parents might not necessarily know that they can use or input, that's where the Advocate Corner comes and empowers you, because I know how to word things in a way that administrators and classroom teachers understand. And it's also a way to say, you know what, this is what I'm trying to say to my kid's teacher, but I don't know if I'm saying it the way I want to really say it. How can I say it stronger? And also with forms, when it comes to filling out forms, whether it's classroom registration forms, parent input forms, how do you want to write your child up in that form so that the school has a very clear idea? A lot of times parents say, oh, my kid's, a visual learner or an auditory learner. Yes, they are, yet there's also so many other ways that your child can learn. They could be a kinesthetic learner. They might be a sequential thinker. And that's where we come in and helping you really word those forms in a way that you are setting your child up to getting the best school experience possible. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of how the Advocate Corner can empower you. So I'd like to take time now. Thank you so much for listening to me. I'd like to listen to you now for a Q&A on ways that the Advocate Corner can help you. If anything had come up, I'd love to listen to any questions, but if you don't feel like you want to put any questions in the chat, that's okay. You can absolutely reach me at orrit@theadvocatecorner.com, and I'd be happy to assist you in any way possible. And I do want to thank everyone for coming tonight and taking time to listen to the presentation. Thank you. And please like and follow the Advocate Corner. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.